I'm slightly embarrassed to even talk about this because I always see myself as a strong, independent woman. But after being in this relationship, I'm like, damn, girl, you got some stuff to work on, because I'll talk about that after. Because while I was in it, I didn't know and really just wanted to be loved, right? Like we all do. But how he went about it was to be controlling, dominating, and to be manipulative, okay? Only after I really saw all the pieces that the relationship was one where I felt unseen, unheard, and just really invalidated. Number one, okay, always trying to prove themselves, right? Always being like, I'm better than these people. He'd say it subtly like, oh, I've only been doing this activity for a couple of months and I'm so much better than people have been doing it for a couple of years. Which might be valid, right? But then I just noticed that I'm like, well, if you want to improve your game, you should hang out with people who are a lot stronger than you, right? But then he never did. And this is where I saw after he felt comfortable spending time with people who were not as good as him, either in physical ability, education, income, just trying to prove himself that he was better. So red flag number one, using ego to separate himself, putting them better than the other person, right? And narcissism can happen. Reason number two, being a victim. Okay, so just observing how your partner talks and see if they see themselves as a victim in one way or another. And for me, it was about his childhood. And he would say, oh, when I was a child, no one had ever talked to me. I felt so left out. And we all have those experiences, right? But it was just something that was repeating where he felt like a victim. This is where when you're first in a relationship, you see all the good parts, but it was just another point that I overlooked because I thought, well, no, he's great at a lot of other things, right? But the victim story is a very strong one. So anytime he had strong views on anything, I was just attributing that to his personality. And I would want to keep the peace and be like, okay, well, you're right, and then just let that go. But when it got to a point where it was controlling, minimizing my experience, and saying all of my sensitivities are on me, that was the point where I was like, something's wrong. Like, I don't get it. But at first, I would just say it's just a strong personality. And I would say this is where if you're in a relationship and you're justifying your partner's behavior because they have a strong personality, they're a challenger, they're more logical, they can just fight and debate everything, I would really suggest for you to take a step back and look at yourself and seeing what is not being said on your side just to keep the peace. So that leads me to my next point. Gaslighting. So gaslighting is a psychological term where one person invalidates someone else's experience. And being called too sensitive, too emotional, too needy, that's what happens when you're being gaslighted, when your personal needs are not being addressed. I think this is where you have to be aware of yourself and the dynamic in the relationship. If it's a strong push-pull dynamics, it took me a long time to recognize how unsupported or how unheard I felt in this relationship, because I was so used to taking care of someone else. And this was an overtime thing. First couple of months were just great, like back and forth communicating, right? But then the fourth, fifth month, that's where it just went downhill. And that's where over time, I just got used to catering to him and addressing what he needed. And it got to a point where I had to move and I had all these things to take care of. I woke up stressed, crying. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And he got frustrated. He's like, that's on you. Like, all of that stress is on you. And I just saw that, okay, I guess this is just the compromise that we have to do in the relationship. And I think this is where with this type of relationship, it's an overtime thing. It kind of like wears you down and you're wondering, who are you anymore, right? And there's a really good video on YouTube about gaslighting. I'm going to link it below, but at first it might just seem like normal conversation, normal relationship compromise, right? But then after a while, you recognize that your needs are not being met and you have to remove yourself from a situation to see how much has really happened. My next point. I'm a protector. I just care about you. I worry about you. That can be a cover-up for jealousy. This is where their insecurities feeling like they have to have control of you comes in. Because I always thought it was like, oh, he just cares. He's like, oh, message me when you're home. Like, what are you doing now? And at first it's like, oh, he just wants to know. But I always had this like underlying feeling I had to like show him I was like trustworthy. And this is where his past relationship he was cheated on, and he's like just like super aggressive. It's like, I don't trust anyone. But then after a while, when you get messages like, oh, hey, I'm gonna pick you up after the gym because I don't trust you, there's something deeper there. I didn't realize a lot of this until after I got out, and then just like all these PTSD moments were like, oh right, these are signals that I did, and these were signals I didn't look into. Next red flag. None of his ex-girlfriends wanted to talk to him. So I think even if you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, asking about your partner's previous relationships and how they ended, if they're on good terms, or if they never want to see them again, I don't think that's a good sign. So I guess the biggest red flag for me that I overlooked was when I said, I'm going to go see a therapist. And he said, like, why? Why do you want to see a therapist? He's like, oh, my ex-girlfriend went to see a therapist, and her therapist said I was gaslighting her. And I should have known at that moment, but I didn't. I was like, maybe the therapist only saw her side of the story, right? And didn't really value what he was saying. They didn't go together, right? But so that's my next thing. If your partner's previous relationships don't want to talk to them again, there's something there. It may just be the one bad situation, but if there's like more than one, you have to wonder what happened for that relationship to end so badly that they don't ever want to talk to them again. Okay, next. If you have a people-pleasing personality, like me, you gotta watch out for narcissistic relationships, because there's a tendency for people pleasers to attract people who are narcissists or have strong egos to satisfy this like push and pull dynamic. So what I mean by this is, for me, my sense of validation came from when people approved of me or said I did things well. And when I was in this relationship, it was a constant cycle of like, oh, you're doing so good for me. Like, hey, like that's amazing. And I was just like, I like lived off this validation, right? And this is where my sense of self was derived from my relationship. So this is where, as an empathetic person, focusing on the needs of others made me happier. It was a constant give situation. It made me feel good for those quick moments of approval. But in the end, I was just so tired of almost honestly like being someone's mom for like fuck's sakes. Okay, I just really saw that my sense of self-love was very low. This is why I attracted this relationship into my life. This showed me that I didn't love myself, so I would do things for others to receive a sense of validation, a sense of love. But after spending a weekend away with a good girlfriend, she really saw how unhappy I was, even though in my mind I said, yeah, things are great. We're supposed to move in together. We're supposed to buy a place together. Okay. She started asking me questions. Am I really happy? And then I started justifying the things that I pushed down by saying like, no, that's fine. That's just the way he wants things, right? And I really saw how unsupported I felt in the relationship. And I think this comes back to recognizing that he isn't the enemy. And in this video right now, he does seem like the bad guy. And there's a period of blame that you go through, just judging and blaming the other person. So I really saw that he was a person who's looking for love, like we all are. But for his point of view, he has to be dominating and to take love, and from a place of nothingness. And then mine was to give love, but also from a place of nothingness. This is my experience. I don't know if you'll ever see this video. Anyways, but having said that, I'm learning to love myself first and foremost, because the universe will reflect back to me what I believe. And in the beginning, that relationship was exactly what I needed. And I did learn and grow from that relationship. It wasn't all bad times, right? It's all learning. And I thank you. And I hope this helps you if you're questioning your relationship or have been in a situation like this before. Much love. Bye. It's really helpful just to write it out, talk it out if needed to a therapist or someone you really trust. I didn't know how deep it was until like 6 months after. I still had like PTSD from it. I just like had flashes of memories. And since I wrote them out the other week, it made such a big difference. I don't have these like memories that just come up and I'm just like feeling so ashamed of myself, right?